Hello, I'm Sadie. Thank you for taking the time to come and practice with me today. Today's class is going to be focused on really slowing the body down, where we'll take 10 rounds of breath in each of the poses so we can meditate more deeply and relax more, letting go and really trying to slow the whole of the body down. We'll begin in a seated position. You can choose to sit on a block or on the ground. Sometimes it's just nicer to sit on a block. It helps lengthen the whole of the spine just slightly more. So sitting on the block, releasing any slight niggles that you might have from the body, and firming up in the core. Drawing the shoulders down away from the ears. With each inhalation, seeing if we can grow slightly taller. And each exhalation, continue to peel the shoulders away from the ears. Just a very gentle touch on the very tops of the knees. Trying to soften the whole of the body. We'll take just slightly longer today. At the start of practice, focusing on the rhythm of our breathing. Something that we'll really need today, especially holding the poses for 10 rounds of breath. It's going to be one of the best things we can do to really relax more deeply into the pose. For each inhalation, seeing if we can send the air all the way down to the very base of the lungs. And then exhaling smooth and steady. Each inhalation, trying to expand the lungs slightly more full, aiming for 3/4 of our lung capacity, maybe pausing once you've reached the full inhalation. And then in your own steady time, exhaling comfortably. Just trying to still the whole of the body. Begin to increase the length of your inhalation and increase the length of your exhalation. Try not to force anything though. Sending the air deep down into the abdominals, filling up the middle of the lungs, feeling that expansion of the rib cage and that gentle rise of the chest. And then that smooth, consistent exhalation. This time, seeing if we can tap into our ujjayi breath. So a very slight constriction of the back of the throat. Almost like you're fogging up a mirror or a piece of glass. You feel that gentle rhythm on the back of the throat. So the breathing becomes audible now, almost like listening to a baby sleeping. Keeping consistent with the rhythm in the breath. Using that to generate a warmth all the way from our root chakra, all the way up to our crown. And take one more full inhalation and steady exhalation. And then when you're ready, moving the block to one side, bringing ourselves to an all-fours position now with the hands directly beneath the shoulders and the knees just 1 or 2 inches behind the hips. Coming into a really strong flat back position. And press firmly through the hands, feel that whole line of energy from the tailbone out through the crown of the head. And we'll take some cat-cows, inhaling as we drop the belly low, and exhaling, sending the tailbone down, rounding the spine. Inhaling, taking the belly button down, and taking the vision directly ahead, sit bones high. And then exhaling, rounding the spine, taking the chin in towards the chest if it feels good. Inhaling, concave in the spine, taking the vision out in front, and exhaling, rounding. Finding that smooth rhythm with the breath. See if you can take the belly slightly lower as you inhale. Seeing if you can round the spine slightly more each time as you exhale. Inhaling smooth. And exhaling, steadily pressing through the hands. Inhaling, taking the belly button slightly lower. And exhaling, rounding out the spine, sending the tailbone slightly further down. Inhaling, opening up into your cow. And exhaling, rounding strong into your cat. Taking that once more, inhaling, opening the chest slightly wider. And exhaling, pressing away through the hands, taking the chin in. Inhaling, rounding the spine. One last final time. And coming into a really firm, flat back position. And taking the toes slightly further back. Extending the bottom down towards the heels, coming into an extended child's pose. Take the forehead down. See if you can walk the fingertips slightly further forwards. Remembering to breathe here, feeling that whole extension of the spine. And then rolling the hips forwards, bringing the shoulders directly above the wrists. We're going to come into a downward dog position. Just walking out the backs of the legs, pressing firmly through the hands, alternating straight leg positions, working the heels down towards the floor and the wall. So that's where we're aiming for our heels to be wedged in nicely. If your heels rest on the wall, then no worries. Use the wall to help propel that whole line of energy up towards the sit bones. Press the heels into the walls and use that to help tilt the pelvis ever so slightly further forwards and the tailbone more up towards the sky. Allow the chest to melt down towards the mat, but keep pressing firmly into the shoulders, into the hands, straightening out the arms as much as you can here. Focusing on that Ujjayi breath and then rolling the hips forward, taking the shoulders directly above the wrists, coming into a strong plank position. And you notice the heels would have just come away from the wall. Just shift the heels back so that they're again touching the wall, and then take the hands back beneath the shoulders. Holding a really firm and strong plank here. A whole line of energy going from the heels out through to the crown of the head. Turn the inner elbows in to face one another. Make sure the index fingers point directly ahead. Really firm up that core, squeeze the glutes. Squeeze everything in towards the midline. And then release the knees down, shift the shoulders ever so slightly forwards and bring the chest down between the hands, gliding the body through into our cobra. Make sure the hands are midway between the shoulders and the waist, creating a nice 90-degree bend with the arms. Drawing the elbows in. Make sure that your weight isn't in the hands, so just lift the hands up ever so slightly here, making sure it's the lower back doing all the work here. Shoulders down away from the ears. And then tucking the toes, raising the bottom high, back into your downward dog. All the time focusing on your breath. See if you can take the heels slightly lower. Really spread the palms nice and wide, fingertips spread apart. Inhaling And exhale and stepping the left knee in close towards the left armpit. Really hug the knee in tight and shift the shoulders forward over and above the wrists into that plank position. Really activating the core strength here. Ensure that the right hip is level with the left. We draw the kneecap up in towards the thigh bone. See if you can raise up more onto the ball of that grounded foot. Spreading even through the left and right side. And then stepping the left foot all the way through towards the top of the mat. Coming into a lovely lunge position. Finding a firm and strong foundation now. Just double checking that the knee is over and above the ankle. And then releasing the back foot out behind us. So the top of the foot is flat against the ground. Maybe take the tip of the toe on the wall behind you. Feel that whole line of energy as it comes from the tailbone out through the crown of the head. You can use a block underneath the hands here, just to raise the shoulders ever so slightly higher. Depends how long your arms are. Just looking for that long flat back position. And keep using the core strength here. Pressing firm into that front leg. See if you can raise the right foot now and take a hold. So you've got the option of the wrap as well. So if you can't take a hold of that foot, you can always wrap the back of the foot with the wrap and draw the foot in closer towards the bottom. Keep opening the chest and draw the heel in as close towards the bottom as you can, leveling out the hips towards the short side of the mat. But still continuing to squeeze everything in towards the midline. Really firming up in that front foot. Keep an even amount of pressure through all four corners of the feet, but try not to scrunch up in the toes. I don't usually keep my socks on, but I kept my socks on today. I was quite cold. So releasing the back foot down. And then raising the knee, coming onto the balls of the foot. Preparing ourselves for a high lunge position now. All the time leveling out the hips, really firming up on the outside edge of that right hip and that left hip. Squeezing everything in towards the midline. Try not to allow that front knee to waver at all though, all the time keeping it above the ankle. Maybe pressing more strong through that back knee. Using that Ujjayi breath. Just gentle in the fingertips alongside that front foot. Then placing the hands down flat, stepping the left foot back into a really firm plank position. And now we'll use the block. So take the block in between the knees and the hips. And really squeeze that block in tight. Coming into that strong plank position with the heels against the wall. And then use the wall to help support you here. So you're going to really adjust the feet, making sure that it's the kneecaps pointing directly down towards the ground and that you've got that even pressure between the ball of the foot and the outside edge of that little toe. So the feet are parallel, and then we come onto the balls of the feet, come down into our Chaturanga Dandasana, keeping that whole line of energy and then lowering the chest down through the hands, keeping the block where it is, bringing the arms to that 90-degree position, and raising the chest, squeezing the block in towards the midline, and then really pointing the tips of the toes against that wall. Remembering to breathe. Try not to squeeze the glutes too much. Make sure it's the lower back doing the work. Maybe seeing if you can raise the hands. And then lower the forehead all the way back down. Pressing strong through the hands. See if you can press all the way back up to plank position. And then on the exhalation, take the hips back high into your downward dog. And really firming up with the block in between the legs. Feel as though you're tearing the mat in two here. So you're pressing out really firm through the front of the mat. Pressing out strong through the back of the mat. And try and collapse the arches down of the back feet. So you won't be able to do it because there's that resistance there with the block. Really trying to flatten out the whole of the feet. Flatten out the whole of the palms. Extend the whole of the back. And now removing the block to one side. Returning to your downward dog. And stepping the right knee in close towards the right armpit, shifting the shoulders over and above the hands, hugging that knee in as tight as you can here. Focusing on that breath. And then double check what that left foot is doing. Again, evening out the weight on the ball of the foot and the outside edge of that little toe. Seeing if you can take the back knee directly up towards the ceiling. And stepping the foot all the way through in between the hands. Coming into our lunge position, just firming up our foundation. Taking the tips of the toes all the way back towards the back wall. Finding a point of focus or adjusting your yoga pants. And then once you feel ready, seeing if you can send the tailbone slightly lower. And extend the crown of the head even more towards the top corner of the room. Maybe taking a hold of that back foot. Drawing the foot in towards the bottom. So this is a really great thing to do if you have any knee trouble. Just to help release all of the muscles around the knee. Remembering to breathe. Opening broad in the chest. Double checking you can hear your breath, that ujjayi breathing. And then releasing the foot steadily back down, coming into your plank position. Firming the heels against the wall, then shifting the heels away from the wall, lowering down into your chaturanga dandasana. Seeing if you can hold this now. Continue to draw the elbows in close towards the body, shifting the shoulders down away from the ears. Extending the crown of the head long towards the top of the mat. And it feels as though the heels want to press against the wall. You keep wanting to press the heels against the wall, but you're firm on keeping the elbows directly above the wrists. And then when you're ready, taking the hips all the way down and raising up into our cobra. Pressing more firmly in the hands now, coming into our full cobra. Drawing the hips down towards the ground, shoulders down away from the ears. Feeling the whole of the arms activated. Continuing to imagine like you've got the block in between the legs, keeping the legs parallel, the toes shooting away towards the back wall. Tucking the toes now and sending the hips high, coming into your downward dog. And walking the right foot in slightly closer. We'll extend the left foot up against the wall now into our three-legged downward dog. So the very tips of the toes want to touch the wall. You can always keep a bend in that raised leg if it feels better. But we're looking to level out the hips as much as we can. And if that means bending the leg, then you can bend the leg. So keep turning the left hip ever so slightly down in line with the right. Seeing if you can extend the right heel down towards the ground as much as you can. All the time working that extended leg straight and then drawing the right knee in close towards the right armpit, stepping it through in between the hands. Inhaling here and exhaling, sending the tailbone down. Fingertips press gently either side of that front foot, firming out our foundation. Then when we're ready, inhaling, taking the arms up high, bringing the palms together, extending the fingertips high towards the ceiling, lowering the tailbone down, maybe even coming into a slight back bend here, drawing an imaginary line across the ceiling. But remaining firm in that lumbar spine. So imagine as though you're curving over a bar here, and so the bar's just beneath the shoulder blades. Try not to hinge in the lower back. And releasing the hands either side of that front foot. Coming into half splits here. You can always use a block to rest the hand on just to help even out the hips. So the front heel stays exactly where it is. Just point the toes up towards the sky. Extend the crown of the head long towards the top of the mat. You really want to extend the tailbone down towards the heel, but that front heel is planted, keeping you strong and firm in this position. Try not to allow the hips to waver. Keep squaring off the hips to the short side of the mat. And then inhaling, drawing the body back towards the front of the mat into your lunge position, raising the back knee up into your high lunge. Then inhaling into full crescent, taking the palms together, squaring the hips off towards the short side of the mat, and then firming out through that back leg, especially through the inside seam of the leg. And if we can turn the back heel in ever so slightly, so it's not collapsing inwards, but it's parallel with the midline. And use that core strength, draw the rib cage in, draw the belly button in, and reach tall. Inhale once more and exhale. Release the hands either side of the front foot. And with control, guide the left foot back into your plank. And then raising the left foot, see if you can come into a three-legged plank. If it's ever at all too much, just stay in plank or release the knees down, come to all fours. So pressing the toes very gently against the back wall. Firming out strong through the backs of both of the knees. Coming into a really strong three-legged plank. One-legged plank, not three-legged plank. I'm thinking of a three-legged downward dog. Good, and then releasing the toes down, coming through your chaturanga, inhaling into your full upward dog. So the hips are raised, press out firm through the hands, shoulders directly above the wrists, taking the vision directly ahead, filling that whole line of energy from the tips of the toes, propelling the body forwards. The body propels forwards, but the shoulders remain directly above the wrists. That's helping create that lovely back bend here. Feel that upward draw of energy, the chest draws open. And then exhaling, rolling over into your downward dog. This time, walking the left foot in slightly closer towards the midline, extending the right foot high against the wall, tips of the toes just touching in your three-legged downward dog. So just adjusting the hand position, finding your comfortable three-legged downward dog position. Double checking that our left hip is in line with the ankle. It's not wavering out towards the side too much. Firming up in the core, drawing that right hip down. Inhaling and exhaling, drawing the right knee close towards the right armpit. Stepping through into a lunge position. Releasing the top of the back foot down. Then inhaling, taking the arms high. Interlocking the fingers over and above the head. You can interlock the fingers or you can take the palms and the fingertips flat. Drawing that imaginary line across the ceiling, coming into a very slight back bend if it feels good. Just listening to your body, going with your own steady pace. Pressing out firm through that front foot. Inhaling and exhaling, releasing the hands either side of the foot. And with control, guiding that back knee up. And then extending the body forwards along the front leg, taking the toes up towards the sky, keeping the heel planted, coming into a half split. So it doesn't matter where your body is, how close this is towards the leg. The main thing is keeping that spine straight. So if you need to raise up slightly higher and use the block for support, then you can do that. All the time turning that knee up towards the ceiling. Just a very gentle external rotation of the leg. Releasing forward into your lunge. Raising the back knee. Preparing ourselves for our full crescent. Firming up in the foundation, then drawing the hands together over and above the head. Imagine like you're squeezing everything in towards the midline. Really contracting the quadricep of that back leg. See if you can straighten the leg out slightly more. Turn the heel up more towards the sky. All the time activating the core, seeing if you could extend the fingers slightly higher. Last inhalation and exhalation, releasing the hands either side of the foot. Guide the right foot back, making any adjustments you need to here to come into your one leg plank. Really firm up the glute muscles. Extend the legs out long. And then releasing, seeing if you can lower down all the way through chaturanga, then inhale, open up into upward dog. So you can always rest here if this is too much. Always rest with the hips down. Just come into a cobra. Or take full upward dog. Just listen to how you're feeling. Most important, listen to the breath. Still nice and smooth with the inhalations and releasing the knees down. Sending the bottom all the way back. Coming into an extended child's pose. And releasing the forehead down towards the mat. You can take the arms either side of the body or extend the arms out long, or hands either side of the head. This must have been the point where I really warmed up. I took my socks off here. Just take a moment to recenter yourself. Feel that expansion of the rib cage against the legs. That smooth rhythm of the breath. You may even feel the heart pounding within the rib cage. And that's good. It's important just to take moments to relax and slow the body back down. Continuing to focus on that ujjayi breathing. And on the next inhalation, we're going to bring ourselves back up to our all fours. Let's take a few cat-cows here to release. Inhaling as you take the belly low and take the tailbone high. And exhaling, hugging the belly button in tight towards the spine. It's just important to go at your own smooth pace here. Try to synchronize the movement with the breath. And coming into a downward dog position. I just had to straighten out my mat here. And if we can take the heels slightly lower, send the sit bones slightly further towards the ceiling, broadening the shoulders all the time, releasing the neck side to side, shake the head out. Coming into dolphin now, so releasing the elbows down towards the mat, only if it feels good. Taking the forearms down, seeing if you can keep the forearms parallel. So the body remains in that lovely inverted V shape. All the time broadening out the shoulders, pressing firm through the shoulders. So you're extending the tailbone as high as you can towards the ceiling. Lengthening out the whole of the spine, sending the heels down towards that wall or towards the ground. And to firm out through the back of the knees slightly more. And then releasing the knees all the way down into your extended child's pose. So using the breath here. All the time using it to help slow the body. And raising back up into our dolphin. Adjusting our heels, maybe using the wall for support. And extending the left toes up against the wall, straightening out the whole of that leg. So we're coming into a three-legged dolphin pose. Really keeping strong in the shoulders, broadening out the upper back all the time, trying to keep the hands flat towards the ground, forearms parallel, hips level, releasing the foot slowly back down. So you'll need the core strength quite a lot here, and taking it onto the other side, raising the right foot high, toes against the wall. Try to bring the foot parallel with the mat, so we're pressing evenly in the ball of the foot and the outside edge of the foot. Turn the hips in parallel. Keep drawing that right hip down in line with the left. Drawing the core in nice and strong. And then releasing the right foot with control back down into your dolphin pose. Release the knees, send the bottom back into your extended child's pose. Just taking a moment here. It's amazing how quickly the body can warm up. I'm just holding some of these isometric postures. Now we're going to take the bottom directly above the knees and extend the chest down towards the ground, extend the hands out long. You can always use a block underneath the chest here, just to raise the chest slightly higher, especially if you've got quite tight shoulders. Or if it's too much, you can always raise back onto the elbows. Just go in with whichever works for you. And if with each exhalation we can take the chest slightly lower towards the ground. sending the bottom up towards the ceiling. And walking the elbows back in, hands back beneath the shoulders, coming into your downward dog. And we're going to make our way to a standing forward fold. Just shift the heels all the way back towards the wall. Now you might find this is quite an intense forward fold. So what you can do instead is, if you know you're quite tight in the hamstrings, is walk the feet further forward and lose that connection with the wall. The main thing is keeping a long straight spine. So bend the knees generously and bring the tummy down into contact with the top of the legs, placing the fingertips in line with the toes. Really reach the crown of the head down. If you know it's okay, you can keep that full contact with the back of the legs against the wall, trying to reach the tummy down as close as you can towards the legs. Maybe take a hold of the big toes with the first two fingers, but all the time ensuring we're not scrunching up around the shoulders. Drawing the tailbone high towards the ceiling, and the crown of the head towards the toes. Really using the strength in the arms here to draw us down, but not forcing anything still, just with each breath, seeing if we can go slightly deeper. And steadily releasing the hands down, walking the hands in front of the feet and then back in line with the toes. So the wall is pushing the bottom forwards over and above the ankles here, so it might feel like you're going to fall forwards, but take the hands out and begin to walk the body all the way forwards into your downward dog. And then raise high onto the tips of the toes, creep the toes in towards the top of the mat. Come into a nice strong tabletop position with the bottom directly above the ankles. You might need to take the toes, the fingertips on the shins here or on the thighs. Really firming up in that core, using the breath. Bending the knees, coming into a chair pose now. So taking all 10 fingertips just behind the heels, squatting the bottom down low, squeezing the knees in together, drawing strong in the core, flattening out that whole lower back. Taking the hands just gently on the knees, making sure we've got vision of the big toes, maybe even taking the hands up either side of the ears. You can take palms together here or keep the hands nice and wide. Really squeeze the glutes. Draw the rib cage in. Extend out long in the spine. See if you can take the bottom slightly lower, extend the fingertips even higher. Use the breath. And then on the exhalation, stand tall in your mountain pose. Draw the kneecaps strong in towards the thighs. Spread evenly all the weight across the feet. Try not to scrunch up in the toes. Take the hands down either side of the legs. Shoot the fingertips down towards the ankles. Firm up in the core. Squeeze the glutes gently. Draw the rib cage back over and above the waist. Peel the shoulders down away from the ears. Continue to contract the arms as you extend the fingertips all the way down. Stand tall and strong in your posture. You can take a few moments to rest here. That's the end of practice for today. In your own time, beginning to open your eyes. Namaste. All videos is to help in building a global yoga community, to share and exchange yoga and also lifestyle ideas. So if you want to travel and do yoga, then see how you can be a part of Earth Yoga Exchange on Facebook and on Instagram.